So we're actually using AI who are almost like pseudo therapists. They're actually taught the same things, or they use material that we would use when working with clients.
What is going on, Summit Chasers, and welcome to another episode of the Summit Startup Success Series, where we interview and highlight the founders of these businesses and the problems that they're solving, the trials and tribulations that they've had to go through, from raising capital to adjusting their target market to adjusting their idea, and how they got from where they were to where they are today. Sit back, get your notebooks out, prepare to be inspired, and start chasing your summit. What's going on, my fellow Summit Chasers? I am incredibly excited and honored, and I absolutely love what this guest that we have right now is doing. I have Liam McDonough, sorry.
Yeah,
Did
you're
I already
totally
mess
good,
it up?
McDonough.
Oh,
Yeah.
perfect. Liam McDonough with Animore Games. How you doing today, brother?
Doing good, man. It's such a pleasure to be on here. I love the intent and what you're building with this project. So anything I can do to serve the greater good is in my mission.
Well, that is the epitome of what you are doing. Like what you're doing. That's why I'm so excited for that. I don't want to spoil anything. I want everything to come from you. But even just the few minutes that we talked before this, I'm already inspired by you and what
Thank
you're
you.
doing. So looking back, what was the most pivotal moment that really set the course for the success that you're seeing today?
After going down a not so easy route for a little bit, I said to myself, we need to make some major corrections or we're going to end up in jail, right? And that was many, many years ago, almost a decade at this point. And I went down this path of a lot of meditating, really cleaning myself up, and wanting to give back as much as possible. So I studied neuroscience. Did it's kind of like the corporate gig for science people. I was working with Cornell. You get all you get the gold star. Oh my gosh, yes. Uh, and there were a lot of amazing things that I was doing, but I've been subscribing to the path of how do I serve the most amount of people in this moment on an ongoing basis? And after a certain point, I kind of shed my skin a little bit. And the essence of it is fucked up my life. Wanted to help people with their lives. So we're making a game so that's easier and you don't have to have an iron will or some of the same skills I've developed in order to help yourself.
When we can turn our own, issues, problems, tragedies, trauma, whatever it is,
Yeah.
into future gain, into future success, into providing a brighter future for others. I mean, that's the goal. What's the point of going through all that if you're not going to learn from it and B, use it for good? And a lot of great ideas, a lot of great people have come from, whether it's done to yourself, past trauma, or done to you, past trauma. Amazing people and amazing ideas have come from it. So
You hit the nail on the head. I mean, and I appreciate your ability to almost see it for what it is. I feel like you pull back the onion very quickly, right? Of like what's really going on in this situation and how do I create love is the words that come to mind. I don't want to be too frou-frou-y, you know? And I know some people if they hear that word, they're like, oh my gosh, creating love. What is this guy talking about?
but I mean, and okay, love. Some people might hear that and think it's a frou-frou word, but what's the alternative?
Oh, sure. I completely agree.
Right? Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, what are you gonna do? Hate everybody? Like, it's just it's insane to me that some people, like, why not put that out there? So many people out there that feel deprived of it. Some people have never felt it before, feel they're not worthy of it, which I think is a big one. Like, we put our own labels on our own self, and then we say, I'm not worthy of this. I'm not worthy of love. I'm not worthy of success. I'm not worthy of having a family. I'm not worthy of creating an amazing business that does amazing things. Right? So why not put it out there? That could be what gets them out of their own way and able to give their gifts and their skills to the rest of the world. Let's talk about Animore Games. What is the mission of Animore Games?
What we're doing is we are teaching something called social emotional learning through video games. social emotional learning, in essence, is just being empathetic, learning to talk to people, looking at people in the eyes, right? Um, but a lot of people are really struggling with that right now, and especially children who grew up in like kind of like the iPad era, because suddenly, if I'm glued to my screen all day, especially during COVID, I don't really learn how to socialize in the same way. So the core problem that we're solving right now is we're building a game to help teachers and counselors teach social emotional learning in schools. We are doing this through fun. I One of the big reasons I left Cornell is because, and shouts out to all of them, they did a fantastic job, and the mission is pure and it's really good. Um, we just had more restrictions around us for how fun we can make the game because it was in such a medical environment. Like we were testing very specific variables in the work. So I said, okay, let's amp up the fun and the art and the creativity of this project, and let's bring it to as many people as possible. So we're actually using AI who are almost like pseudo therapists. They're actually taught the same things, or they use material that we would use when working with clients or with kids as counselors. But with an AI, now you have this, we've got these great animated avatar characters, and you can really open up to these virtual characters as opposed to like being in like a psychiatry office or something like this.
Mm-hmm.
So our core mission is really to help bridge the gap between the people that want to help children
Mm-hmm.
and give them the tools to make it happen.
Like I said, that's an amazing mission. Like, who can't get behind that? Give me an example of a use case, right? So, who would be
Mm.
using the product, and then who's benefiting from the product, and then
Yeah, sure. So like imagine we have like autism, for example, and some of our social skills aren't as developed. Then that could lead to being bullied in school. That could lead to really staying close to the phone, right? So maybe it's like, as opposed to talking to people, because it's even more hard for me, I'm going to stay on my phone. Well, now if I can play a game where I'm talking to these characters, they respond to me very fluidly and they make me feel good. The game itself is very fun. And over time, I'm actually learning, without really meaning to, how to succeed more in my real life environment, in the physical world, right? Between talking to teachers or talking to other students. Maybe I need to stand up for myself in certain situations, or maybe I need to be more diplomatic in others. So being able to that would be a use case, right? You have a kid really struggling to socialize. We give them the tools. We make it fun. We make it easy. We make it cheap.
so with such a like a powerful mission, purpose, and problem that you're solving, obviously you're very motivated to get it started. Other people are very motivated to get this out there. So what kind of struggles have you either gone through, or what are some of the strategies you've done to raise the initial capital in order to get this off the ground?
Sure. So to raise the initial capital, I am beyond grateful for my wife. Her clientele over the last period of time have been people who have connections to funds, people who want to see the world be a better place, maybe people with younger children who have the capital to say, yeah, I trust you, my friend trusts you, right? You've done amazing work for their marriage, let's say. I'm happy to give you whatever, 20K. So it was a very favorable, agreeable kind of investment
Mm-hmm.
for people who are open to that risk. And as a result, we've raised a little bit under $350,000 to start this project, which is great. I it literally could not be done without that.
What would your advice be to those that, like, just to get started? Like, what's the 30 seconds of courage they need to get started in order
Sure.
to?
I mean, I think just acknowledging fear, like saying I am going to be afraid and that's okay. Like I'm afraid every day. I wake up afraid every day. And I literally say to myself, am I going to let the fear win? And like sometimes the answer is yes. Um, I try to make the answer no as much as possible. A lot of people may feel like they need a ton of capital to get started, right? Where it's like, hey, I have this killer idea. I am fascinated with like the VC route and I need to raise whatever. It could be 10K, it could be like $1 million. My gut feeling as I've transitioned from being all product side, right, to like really understanding the brain, etc., to understanding business is I would just crush it in business because you can make a lot of freaking money just being good at business. Like you sit there and you're like, okay, I'm going to be an entrepreneur. Maybe it's my side gig and I'm learning sales at the moment, or maybe I'm in marketing or product, whatever. Like just learning, okay, to make money, I have marketing into a setting call, into a closing call, into oh, I've closed the client and now I do my service, I do my business. Da, 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 da. Just learning this and like making some cash, your ideas are going to flourish and become like so incredible. You'll understand the whole freaking process. It does not take forever. Like, and thus you potentially will either have the capital or you'll make so many freaking connections that it's so much easier to raise. So at least you have the eyeballs on you to say, hey, look, I've already proved myself. I've already made cash and I need this much more. Right. So it's like, that's kind of like my gut feeling as I've transitioned from kind of user tester or dev or something like this to CEO.
I could summarize those 2 points that you
Mm-hmm.
made. It's be okay with being shitty, right?
Yeah.
The first few conversations you might have with possible investors might go terribly, but the next ones will go better and then better and then better. And then the other one is just like just understand business foundations. And that if you build that foundation, like you can build a skyscraper as opposed to, if you stack brick over brick right on top of each other vertically, I mean, the wind gust can knock it over type of thing. What is the summit that Animore Games is chasing particularly? What would the apex, what would the summit be for Animore Games?
We want to give healing, both internal and external social skills, to as many people as possible. I would say by any means necessary.
But I mean, and okay, love. Some people might hear that and think it's a frou frou word, but what's the alternative,
Oh, sure. I completely agree.
right?